Okay.
We are officially live, and hi everybody. Come on in and join us. Awesome. So, hi everyone. It's so funny with all these stream devices here and there. Sometimes you get messages to scream. So, hi. The first couple of minutes will always be fun. I'm with one of my good friends, CB Bowman, who is an amazing human. She has done so many fun things in life and has a really amazing and powerful story to tell. But first, I might actually do what I love doing best and say, hi, CB, who are you? Just so our audience knows.
Oh, hi, Mitch. I am the most brilliant Black woman that you will ever meet strategically. I do not hold the imposter syndrome.
All right, well, tell me more. Tell me more. Who are, give me a bigger, broad brush view of who you are.
So, I am the CEO of the Association of Corporate Executive Coaches, which is an amazing group of brilliant executive coaches that work with the C suite. That's my baby. And then one day, Marshall Goldsmith, who is a friend of both of ours, said, "So, CB, what do you want to be known for?" And I said, being the CEO of ACEC. And Marshall has this thing whenever you say something wrong, he goes, eh.
By the way, if you've ever been in a room with him, and what's bigger is if you're in a room with 100 other people and you just talk to him privately, and he does that publicly, like the first time that ever happens, you're like, oh man, what's going on?
I was like mortified, to tell the truth. Because
It's hard not to be. It's really hard not to be. I think I was there for one of yours, so yeah.
yeah, you know what? This It's really hard when there's a bunch of high achiever brainiacs in the room, and you're like, "Oh God, what did I do?" And he said to me, "CB, that's not something you want to be known for." And I thought, who the hell is this man to tell me what I want to be known for? Long story short, he was right. So shortly after that, a member of ACEC asked me to be a keynote speaker for her coaches in Brazil. And because she was a member, I said immediately yes. And I said to her, "So you want me to speak about DEI?" And she said, "No." I said, "Oh, you want me to speak about executive coaching?" She said, "No." And I thought, oh crap, I've gotten myself into something I can't get out of. And I said, "What would you like for me to speak about?" She said, "Courage." And I said, "Pilar, I know nothing about courage." And she said to me, "You're the most courageous person I know. So please talk about courage." And you know the word synchronicity, Mitch, when something falls into place, when you're on the right path, everything falls into the right place, right? So I started writing my keynote very begrudgingly. And then all of a sudden, my fingers were going like this. And I thought, holy cow, people have been telling me this all my life. I have been denying it because I couldn't see it. And they were right. And so now I'm known as the courage doctor for organizations.
Actually, I'm going to do a courage thing. I actually like Mitchell. I thought I'd share.
Okay.
Um, all right. So besides that, we're going to come back to courage in a second. Tell me why
You
you were
prefer
the most.
Mitchell. Why do you prefer Mitchell?
Oh, it's a good question. You know, it it feels comfortable for me. I think when I was young, people would call me any name they want, and there are a lot of people who, and some of them have nothing to do with how my name is spelled today, um, and and I think what happens is as a professional, I mean, some people I always like things to be consistent. That's one of the things I do about credibility and clarity is that you're consistent. I actually like the full name Mitchell. It feels more comfortable to me. It feels like a good fit for who I am. And so yeah, when people say it, I often suggest that, hey, I like this one better. And then whatever you call me, I'm okay. As my wife would say, as long as you don't call me late for dinner or late for drinks, I'm good. But
So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. See, audience, this is courage. My thinking is when people use Mitch, it's because they feel connected to you at
mm,
a higher level. They feel a bond with you. When they use Mitchell, it's a fence between us. We know each other, but we're talking over the fence. I'll
interesting.
let that sit and marinate with you.
I'm going to say for you, if that's how you feel, then I'm honored for you to call me what you want. And I think, by the way, for those who are watching, this actually is thanks, Dr. Michelle. Um, for those that are watching, I would say this is actually because we're live, right? So we're
Yeah.
live, we're talking, this is not rehearsed. This actually is a form of courage, right? I'm not going to leave this conversation going, oh my God, I'm never going to talk to CB again. I'm going to leave going, CB, that was such a cool thing to do, because you know what courage is? Courage is making sure you have a common language, a common definition of terms. And what you did here is by when I said something, you said, well, why is that? And you gave me a different reason. And I believe in what you said. So call me Mitch if you would like to call me Mitch. For other people, if if you feel comfortable calling me Mitchell, if you want to call me Mitch, just say I'm calling you Mitch because CB called you Mitch, and then you'll be okay.
Well, I feel that you're closer to my heart when I call you Mitch.
Nice, nice. That's pretty cool. All right, so tell me a little bit, but I'm very interested in diving in. When that person said to you, "You're the most courageous person they know," why is that?
You know, I asked her that question because I had no idea. And she said to me, you started ACEC against all odds. And she had trouble with one of her members, and I stepped in to help and totally supported her and raised her up several notches. And I think she remembered that. I had no fear in doing it either. And it could have been a negative decision on my association.
Hmm.
But to me, the situation called for my values to be first. And my values were to support her.
What
But
is?
I will say this, Mitch, and I say it in my book, which will be on the
But
bookshelves.
of course, thank you for sharing.
Um, I say in the book, because as I was writing it, I realized what was courage for me or courageous acts for me might not be for somebody else. And I
Hmm.
realized that courage is in the eye of the beholder. I also realized that, and which is the real reason why wrote this book, is that we see courage as this big mammoth dinosaur that only some people have the opportunity to experience. And I thought, wow, that's not true. Or that's part of the truth. The other part of the truth is that every single day that we are on this earth, we do something courageous.
Hmm.
We need to, especially in this time, our society is in a moment of chaos like they've never been before. And this is the reason why we have such, one of the pandemics we have is mental health. It's because of this chaos, this being in 5 pandemics that we never thought we would be in, that we never saw coming. We at this time need to fully understand, identify, and respect uh, daily acts of courage. I call them micro courage because they lead to one big courageous ball.
Hmm. So what is, I like MicroCourage. What's that mean?
Just what I described. It means daily acts of courage that lead to a goal.
What is courage?
Well,
What was it? Yeah.
the way that courage is defined is best given by example. It's running into a burning building and saving a child. It's jumping into a lake when you can't swim to save a dog. It's it's giant. It's mammoth. And we sit here and we say, that person was courageous. That person spoke up for their country and didn't fear losing their life.
Hmm.
That's Haile Selassie's, right? And so my point is, yes, that's courage on a giant scale, but not necessarily what makes the world go around. It's small acts of courage that make the world go around.
Hmm.
Sometimes, and the reason why I say it's in the eye of the beholder. Let's take, for example, somebody who is addicted to drugs or alcohol, and they get up out of bed and they say, "This is the day. I'm going to change my life around." Most
Hmm.
people don't think of that as courage. It's extremely courageous. Now, take, for example, somebody who has to give a speech before a large group of a large audience, and they're sweating and they're going crazy, and they get up out of bed, they go do it, and whether it's a success or not, they went to do it. That's courage.
Hmm.
Somebody who has a migraine, migraines can take you down totally. I don't know if you've ever had one, but I've suffered through the years with them. And you know that somebody's counting on you to do something. And you get up out of bed. You're not, you don't know if you're going to be vomiting 1 minute. You don't know if you're going to be seeing spots before your eyes. But you reach out and you help this person because you're being counted on. That's courage.
Hmm.
Do you see the difference between running into a burning building, right, and getting up out of bed and saying, Michael Fox, courage to talk about his illness. Men, as we had in the conference that we went to, who talk about things inside of them and shed the tears. That's courage.
Hmm.
Because for the most part, women in our society say, Mr. X, you can't cry. You're supposed to be the stone, the glue that holds everything together. The courage is in the tears. The courage is in their
Hmm.
spoken word.
So the
That's my
book, by the way, I hadn't said this yet. I love that definition of courage and the examples. Hadn't said this yet. I did go to your event, ACEC, and Michelle, Dr. Michelle Braden is actually somebody I met at your event who's commenting on the thread. Thanks for showing up. Good to see you.
I can't see her.
and
Hi.
and what was amazing about your event, there are two things that were memorable. Um, One was just simply to be around other executive coaches when you're speaking, they actually sit back and listen. Like too many people are they they're listening for what to say next.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you have a 5 minute story, and after the first 30 seconds, you kind of pause, and instead of somebody jumping in, they're sitting there waiting for you to continue. Like all of a sudden, I noticed within the first 5 or 10 minutes, like I'm somewhere different. And the other thing that CB does is you actually live courage because the way you've created an environment for the people in the room to be able to it's basically an environment of trust. It's a container of trust so that people can actually be their courageous self. And I found that if you have a chance to go, you get an invitation for the ACEC event. It is absolutely worthwhile for you to attend because it's a walking demonstration of your book. It's a walking demonstration of you, which is powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I must say the people that attend hold this open space for each other. And it's so beautiful. We turn down a lot of people who apply to ACEC because their heads are bigger than the door. And it's a written mantra that if somebody from ACEC calls you and they need help, you drop everything and you help them. That's the kind of family it is.
Hmm. Nice. All right. So if for those people who are interested in you and potentially this book, what's the end result? If I sat down and read it, what was your goal? What did you want to make sure you accomplished with it? Besides, of course, proving Marshall that his hum in a public statement was correct. Which, by the way, many of us do that, right? We're like Marshall says something, and we may not like it at the time, but we sit back and we reflect and we go, yeah, yeah, he was right. So,
Yeah, he calls me his honorary stepdaughter. Um, he wrote the foreword to the book, which was pretty exciting for me. What I want, the book is called Courage to Leap and Lead, but the subtitle is called A Roadmap for Redefining Failure into Success. There's a 7-step process that you can go through with any situation that you consider to be suboptimal and turn it into optimal. And that's my favorite part of the book. My other favorite part of the book is as I'm giving examples of behavior, my behavior that represented courage, there's actually a space in the book for you to write down your behavior that represented courage that you may have forgotten about.
hmm,
And so it allows you to have some deep thought and fun.
it's interesting to me. There's a friend of mine who, when we were speaking, what he was talking about was just micro commitments or micro pivots. And micro pivots, in Silicon Valley, the things that we do is we're going down a road with a company, it doesn't work, we pivot to something else. But what he suggests is micro pivots, little tiny tweaks, which sound to me like those are acts of micro courage.
Courage.
Yeah.
It can be. It depends. Again, it's in the eye of the beholder. It depends upon the results that you want and how you're going to get there. And one of the things I talk about a lot in the book is having people around you that you trust to tell you you're full of shit.
you know, I just I can't even begin to tell you how much in agreement I am with you on that.
And it's a hard thing. I mean, that person, what we don't realize is we have to train that person and we have to train ourselves, right? So you have a good friend who says, CB, you're crazy. That book is full of typos and errors, and you shouldn't have released it. That's not a friend. And that's not somebody who supports you.
Mm.
The person who says to you, CB, your book is incredible, incredible. And I would love to read your next book before it's printed.
Mm.
A friend talking,
Yeah.
a friend. Not the person who says to you, oh, I like your hair longer now that you've cut it. No, a friend says, waits till it grows longer and says, I love your hair that way versus shorter. But you have to train people. Some people can take what'd you do? Cut your hair. Looks terrible. I happen to be a kick ass woman, but I'm very sensitive. So I have to tell you the way that I would like to receive information so that I could process it and use it. You have to share that information with your accountability partners. Otherwise, it's too much work and it doesn't get you to goal.
Right. Well, because your accountability partners, if they even if they consider themselves that, are using their language and their definition of what they think is courageous or what they think is success.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is you need to have the courage to have an honest conversation with your accountability partners, which, by the way, super smart.
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, I'm totally dyslexic. I mean, highly dyslexic. I
I did
used to
not
have
know that.
a colleague, yeah, it's on my email signature, who every time I sent out an email would say, well, you spelled this wrong. You didn't put in that comma. And I would say to her, I appreciate your comments, but here's what would work. You edit before I release. Those comments quickly stopped
Surprise.
because I'm willing to learn, but if I have a physical blockage, then you have to help me. You edit.
Yeah. Interesting. What would be one I like that. What's one incremental thing you think I would take away from the book?
The 7-step process. And that's
Got
really important to me. Yeah. Um, because people would say to me, how are you courageous? How did you do? You have no fear. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be jumping out of a balloon. I'll tell you that much. Or an airplane. Um, and I had to stop and think, how do I process challenges? The first thing is I realized that errors are a universe, they are our university of life. You can't pay for it at a school. So if I start there, then I say to myself, okay, what is it that you can do? What is it that you learned? And when I was in marketing at General Foods, the first thing that we would do, regardless of whether a product was a failure or a success, is we would meet after lunch and say, what are the lessons learned? That's a powerful statement. So if you could look at something that's suboptimal and say, what are the lessons I learned? And then I'm going to try something different the next time out. That is power beyond belief. And that's what I'd like people to take away from the book is the power is yours.
Mm. Yes, it is in our control to to be courageous, to be powerful, to be credible, to have clarity, to be the types of people we want to be. And too many people let us walk away from that and encourage us to walk away from that. Interesting. If somebody is particularly interested in you learning more, either about you or ACEC or your book, how best should they be reaching out to you?
LinkedIn. I hate to plug LinkedIn, but I'm all about the LinkedIn. Or you can reach out to me directly by email, and my email is so simple. It's cb@cbbowman.com.
That's a very simple and very good email. Thank you. CB, given the conversation, what we've covered so far, is there a question that you would have wanted me to ask you that I didn't? Or is there a question you want to ask yourself that you could have me ask you?
A lot of people ask me, how long did it take you to write a book? And I was very lucky. I have a mentee who was a former NFL football player. And he said to me, CB, have you written a book? And I said, no, I've written chapters in books. And he said, you need to write a book. And I said, yeah, I've started, but every time I start and stop, I was whining, in other words. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to somebody and you'll have your book done in 6 months. And I said, what are you talking about? And he did, and it took me a year. The reason why it took me a year is because my husband was diagnosed, my husband of 2 years at that time, was diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer.
Mm.
And I needed to make a choice. Him or something on my bucket list. My choice was my husband.
Good choice.
Sometimes you have to make those hard calls. It takes courage.
Love it. CB, since we're here and we have 1 or 2 more minutes, is there another story of courage that would be worth sharing? And by the way, how's your husband doing?
He's great.
Good to see him at the event. He looked great.
He had a great wife to take care of him. Yeah, I was with him every hospital appointment. I proposed to my husband. I decided one day I wanted to get married. And so during one of my conferences, I sold my house in New Jersey, moved into a hotel in Colorado with my puppy, who I just put down, sadly, and proceeded to live in Colorado. My next step was I put an ad in eHarmony. 5 days later, he reached out to me. A year and a half later, we were married. I proposed to him. And he is an Italian guy with all the temperament of an Italian. Mm-hmm.
So you're a walking element of courage. And if you're thinking about, do I have the life I want to lead at the moment? By the way, you do lead your own life. Or if you're a company and you're not feeling like you're leading the way you are, and maybe putting a little bit of a shot of courage into what you do, or those micro courage commitments is what you need to do. I'd suggest you pick up CB Bowman's book. And CB, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Just in case.
That's awesome. Hey, and Thank you so much for joining us. And for those who are still here listening, watching at the end, this is your time to really spread some cred dust. And that is take the quote you like, take the idea you like, share it on social media, press on the like button, share this post with friends. And we'll see it the next time we talk. And I either am talking to a leader on who they are and their values and how they show up, or somebody also super cool who has a book that really will change who you are. CB, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I love being here.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.